Hi, and welcome back to AI in 5. I'm your host, Simon Chris, and joining me today from Byron is Rebecca Hegeman. Rebecca's a product owner at Local Search, and we're going to be talking about how she uses poetry in AI design. Hi, Rebecca. Welcome to AI in 5. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Simon. Thanks for having me.
Listen, we're going to jump right in. We've only got 5 minutes, and I want to talk about. I know we met and we've been on stage together, and you are a poet by trade on the side, and you've drawn some interesting parallels between poetry and AI design.
I have. Uh, yes, and I could tell you a little bit about that. It's really interesting, looking at poetry, and I was trying to figure out why I approach poetry and why I approach AI design in the same way. And
Okay.
what I came to is that, when I write poetry, I'm basically dissecting emotions. So I take these feelings and these experiences that I have, and I pull them apart, and then I rebuild them with images and metaphor and devices, and I am able to then elicit the same emotions in the audience that hears it. So they feel what I'm feeling without me kind of hitting them over the head with it and saying, hey, this is what I'm feeling, and
Yeah.
in that way it has a much greater impact. And the way it's put together, again, the way these devices are put together are in really unexpected ways, really new ways. And I've been deconstructing and pulling things apart and pulling ideas apart since I was a kid. I remember doing it a long time ago. But the rebuilding part, that's definitely something I learned at uni. I had to learn all these tools and all these skills, and then I forgot them, which is also what you're meant to do. And I began to use them unconsciously or intuitively. And so in the same way, when I go to AI design and I'm working with chatbots or trying to find a solution, so mainly I work in content creation.
Okay.
That's my forte, or brand strategy, just anything to do with digital marketing, writing. I'm there in that space. So when I'm looking to solve a problem with AI, I go into this kind of like immersive flow state. It's a little bit woo-woo,
Okay.
and I'm actually hoping I'm like the most woo-woo guest you've ever had on here. It's kind of almost like a spiritual experience where I plug into the problem and I really feel it.
So,
And I
so
put,
you're not looking for AI to rhyme necessarily, but what
oh,
you're saying is you're using those same deconstruction, reconstruction skills that you would use in poetry to design your AI prompt. Is that right?
absolutely. Well, prompts or programming bots as well, or just even designing the way they interact with each other. And so that becomes a really immersive process where I, I feel it. I
Mm.
feel and I deconstruct the problem and what needs to be solved, and then I rebuild it. And rebuilding is only possible because I understand what the limitations are. I understand what the capabilities are of the tools. And when I say it's intuitive and it's spiritual, I mean, really, I've done, you know, I've done about half of my 10,000 hours on AI and on the AI tools. So I'm pretty familiar with them. I've read a lot of articles. I know how they work. I know the tool I'm working with. So in a sense, it's just like another creative medium for me. It's like
Yeah,
painting,
wow.
drawing. Yeah.
And
So I can go into that creative. It's a very creative space for me.
yeah, it's interesting because a lot of people in this field talk about the orchestration of AI. So it kind of has that artistic orchestration feeling about it.
Yeah.
We're almost at time, but if somebody else wanted to kind of leverage that idea, what would be your quick advice for them?
Well, first you need to get to know the tools, and it might be tricky if you don't really know much about AI, you haven't used it very much, but really just immerse yourself in the tool. It's ideation, so it's like a notepad that can talk back to me, and in that way I really get a feel for what it can do and how I can work with it.
Okay, all right. Now we're at time, but I always ask everybody the same question, which is what is your one best tip for someone just starting their AI journey? They may have never even opened a generative AI tool before. What's your best advice for them?
Oh, right. Well, it's always good to start off with something useful. So I live here in the Byron Shire and everyone's afraid of AI. But once they see how useful it can be, for example, an angry email or an angry text, something that's a little bit emotional, when you put that into AI, it can really save the day because it takes all the emotion out of it. And it really helps us communicate. So that is the number one way I would say to get into it. And
okay, so before you hit send, let AI tune it down a little bit. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And just use just little useful things like that. And then before you know it, you'll find it's in your everyday.
Awesome. Well, this has been a great AI in 5. Rebecca, thanks for joining.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. See you next time.